Ooh, happy spooky Halloween or whatever. Sorry, I'm not in the super festive mood for it, but hey, we're in this oh-so-wonderful Top 100 GuildWar. So hey, let's break it down. What are we dealing with? There's a Conqueror, Lilias, an Apocalypse Ravi, and a Belian. So naturally, hey, these are big HP boys. What say you we go in with our HP bruisers? And pretty much what we're dealing with is the worst thing about our HP bruisers. We don't know what our HP values we're going into are. So in this particular case, all of the actual thick units are somewhere around the 21k areas. So here I was debating, should I even attempt to just try and finish off the Apocalypse Ravi? I decided to risk it for the biscuit, go for it, and I managed to deal just enough. Thankfully, we went in first with the Midnight Gala Lilias, did a little bit of damage, and then we were able to, get that kill. And, oh, but Lucent, if you properly, speed-tuned your units, and then, if your Moon Bunny went before your Hwayoung, everything would have been fine. Yeah, you don't think I fucking know that? Yeah, I know that. It's just, gearing sucks. Gearing is the worst fucking thing about this game. I don't give a fuck what other people say. Gearing in Epic 7 is fucking miserable. But either way, we were able to deal with the Apocalypse Ravi, so now we don't have to really deal with a lot of excessive damage going into our Moon Bunny, but we're still dealing with a Conqueror Lilias and a Belian, which means we're going to be dealing with dual attacks and we're dealing with injury. Now, the most interesting thing, not really in this match, we're actually going to see it a little bit later, but I was convinced that if you were injured on our HP scaling bruiser units, like say Hwayoung and Midnight Gala Lilias, who they function based on how low their max HP is in comparison to the units that they're going into with their certain specific skills. Turns out, if you are injured and your max lowers, it actually does increase your damage. We'll see evidence of that later on in the fight. So here, I attempt to use some more Abyssal Yufine shenanigans, and this is what I was looking for. It's a Ran, Lilias, and a Senya. So I want to use Abyssal Yufine into this, but there's really almost no way that you can make this guaranteed, because we're dealing with an RNL Ran, and what you think happens does indeed happen. RNL. So then, at least we brought Arowell, Elena, and Abyssal Yufine with us. We didn't happen to get any of the additional counterattacks on our Abyssal Yufine, so we just have to basically get rid of the skill null on the Rand with the attack from Elena. We have invincibility, so now the Lilias is going to do nothing, and along with that, we're going to keep our skill null on at least 2 units. We managed to get a counterattack here, which is good, and so we decide to go for the strip with our AOL. We have a lot of effectiveness, and LOL, 15%. Fuck this game. But, hey, it's bound to happen, whatever. Even if that attack didn't really go through, I'm kind of convinced from looking at this, it does look safe, yes, to win, but you're more than likely going to lose a unit. In this particular situation, gonna be AOL. The only other unit that I would even consider possibly bringing into this to possibly make it more safe is maybe Ambitious Tywin. But even Ambitious Tywin doesn't feel safe. I don't know. I still have to try and figure it out to find a way to fight this team 100% consistent and without losing anybody. Because, hey, if you end up having to fight this team 3 fucking times, you gotta make sure you have multiple ways to either beat it, or your one team to go into it is 100% consistent. So, either way, Yufine was able to pull through.
Are you proud of me?
Indeed I am, Yufine. Indeed I am. However, we're going to go into another match here. We ended up fighting this on debut day with Abyssal Yufine. This is Conqueror Lilias, ae-KARINA, and Senya. However, everything was kind of working a lot more in our favor the last time we fought this team. Here now, we're going to start seeing KARINA really pop off with dual attacks from the Conqueror Lilias, as well as just a lot of bad shit in general. I'll try and give you my initial reaction throughout the whole fight. So this is looking pretty standard. It's what we were dealing with before. So now I'm going to go for the Senya here, and I think the biggest factor is the fact that we do not land a stun, but we were able to strip, thankfully. Okay, still, it's not looking too bad. But every single attack that we really go into this Senya, we manage to, not crit, and that really does start to add up. over time. As well as the fact of, like, whenever you start to see the dual attacks going into my Abyssal Yufine. Because, hey, Abyssal Yufine, well, like, right there was one that was just an RNG dual attack, so that was a 3%. We got hit by Death Break immediately. That's bad. Then here comes the dual attack we're to be expecting. That is another hit right there with a Death Break while we were already Death Broken. This shit fucking sucks. So now it's like, well, fuck, do I go ahead and hit it? So I go to check and see what our HP, like what our healing turn cooldown count is for Shuna, and we have to weather one storm here real quick. So I was like, I have no option. I just have to send it. So I go ahead and do that. I attempt to see if I can go ahead and strip this death buff here, because if she activates her S3 with death buff, I'm kind of fucked. And then I'm also forced to Soulburn Shuna's S1 here just to try and get any little bit of extra HP. Now, if I had a Soulburn, the best decision to actually take, if I wasn't so low on HP, would be to Soulburn the Yufine into the Conqueror Lilias. Now, because I did not do that, I have to deal with dual attacks still going into my Yufine while under trauma, which is probably one of the worst things that you can have happen. The ae-KARINA could possibly come through with an S3 and just murder me with the AoE splash damage that she's going to deal. Fortunately for us, everything kind of worked out. We were able to turn cycle fast enough with Shuna so we can get the S2 off. So now we're pretty much back to neutral. And we've done a lot of damage to the ae-KARINA. Pretty much as soon as we're able to, we should be able to go into her one more time, and then we can kill her. So here's where the initial title of the video that came out the day before is really popping through. I'm starting to really notice the cracks in Yufine's defenses here. For starters, if you're on, say, like a slower build, and you start getting debuffed, yes, when you have max fighting spirit, you do cleanse on your turn. But if you don't turn cycle fast enough, a lot of fucking good that's really going to do you, because you could get hit with really, really bad shit, like blind, so then like your counterattacks are straight up not hitting. You could get hit with Death Break, and then your counterattacks will do next to no fucking damage, and then you are also easier to kill. Things like that. So this is really where I'm starting to truly notice a lot of the holes in Abyssal Yufine. But still, Abyssal Yufine is actually a lot of fun to use. It's just their prerequisite to using her is, well, she has to be made tanky. 2k defense is your minimum. And then you also need to make sure you have some form of protection unit. You would think to throw in something like, say, Troublemaker Crowsit would be like a no-brainer for her. But it would really, really be helpful if we had another unit like Troublemaker Crowsit that wasn't dark, like Troublemaker Crowsit is, because Yufine is also dark. That's where you kind of want to like be able to funnel certain attacks into her, stuff like that. But either way, thankfully we were able to just push through that. Now let's go on to this next one. Here is where I learned my nifty little injury tech. Because at first I always thought, okay, yeah, injury doesn't really affect this, because I've been injured before and I just straight up didn't do enough damage to kill these units before. Which, straight up, guys, the HP thresholds for some of this shit to justify a one tap is insane. Some of these units need to be like well over your even max amount of damage that you can deal. Either way, we were able to pretty much take all of our first attacks first, because unfortunately I was expecting the Choux to go first. Because the Choux did not go first, then I went first. So I was like, okay, I'll go into the Choux, I'll see if I can kill it, then I'll boost up, and then we'll deal with it as we deal with it. Unfortunately, all that shit didn't happen. So then I was like, okay, well, fuck. I guess I need to go ahead and kill the Landy now before the Landy really pops off with counterattacks and all that other shenanigans. So I decide, go for it, I kill it. But then I'm left with this Urban Shadow Choux on Proof of Valor, which is a very smart idea, because straight up, guys, it's been less than fucking 10 turns, and my whole team is injured to fucking back. So I'll say right now, if you still firmly believe that like Urban Shadow Choux is not the best injury unit in the game, you're just fucking wrong. Like, that injury has spread so fucking fast. Easily the best injury unit in the game. Now, here's my evidence for where the injury is actually affecting my damage. My max damage threshold on my Midnight Gala Lilias is 28,000 damage. That did 27. she would normally never do that much damage. So that's where I'm convinced that injury does indeed affect how much damage you're able to deal. So, now let's talk about this oh-so-fun match. I wanted to bring Abyssal Yufine into these shenanigans, but honestly, I just didn't want to deal with any more ae-KARINA shit today. So this is my team that I always go for when I'm fighting Conqueror, Lilias, and Rimuru, and the third character honestly doesn't matter. So we go for Sinful, Angelica, Zahhak, and Krau. Krau is there strictly to bait the Rimuru S3. And then we gain attack and speed from the Sinful Angelica. We'll go in with S3 with Zahhak. This will then proc the Rimuru. He goes and attacks Zahhak. Does not steal invincibility. Then he gets his turn. Uses it in the Krau. And, well, guess what? Because you didn't steal invincibility, I'm free to go into any unit of my choosing. Now, normally Mercedes is on this team, but here ae-KARINA was instead. We'll still do the exact same thing we do there. We'll just go into the ae-KARINA, we'll kill it there. Now all we have left is Rimuru and Conqueror Lilias. Shazam! We were able to just kill them easily with any and all of the attacks that Zahhak was able to do. Super, super clean team. Now... we're dealing with one team in particular that I was really on the fence about if I wanted to use or not. So this is Apocalypse Ravi, Martial Artist Ken, and Zio. Now the big thing about it is it's a completely mono-dark team. You don't really see those all that often. So you would think, oh yeah, if it's a mono-dark team, wouldn't you want to go into that with Doris? Well, here's the thing. If you go in with Doris, if there's ever more than one dark unit that's going into her, your odds of dying actually skyrocket. No matter how tanky your Doris is, if you end up taking multiple really, really strong attacks from a dark meta team, you're more than likely going to die. And also, case in point, let's be sure to remember this as well. Zio deals a lot of damage. The ML Ken will deal a lot of damage on his S3 and on any and all crits that happen to go into him or into the rest of the team. The rest of the team, he's just going to attack with a normal counterattack. But if you crit him, he will hit you like a fucking truck. And then there's also Apocalypse Ravi. Apocalypse Ravi, if she were to go into your Doris, every single S1 is going to result in injury, and the more injury that you take, the more risky the actual fight is going to become, especially because Zio is going to deal a shitload of damage to her as well. So, looking at this, I was initially thinking about bringing Doris, but I was like, I don't feel really, really confident about it. So what if we were to bring another unit that can tank dark units extraordinarily well, that being Spirit Eye Celine. Spirit Eye Celine has a damage limit mechanic that's on her at almost all times. The only way it can go off of her is if you seal her, which only 2 characters in the game can seal. And with that on our menu, we're able to pretty much be able to counterattack almost every single attack and heal it off. The only real thing you have to keep in mind is when I was looking at this initially, I immediately thought that this wouldn't work because the ML Ken is more than likely not on crit. He's just going to be on a metric shitload of crit damage and high resist, which ultimately, that's exactly what he's on. So the goal is to really... First, we'll super highly prioritize the Zio. The Zio is going to actually take a little while to kill. Because he has DFI nerfs the ever-loving fuck out of the damage that's going to go into him. And, give it enough time, you'll eventually kill. Then, here's the really cool part, is even when we do kill the Zio, then we have 2 options left to go into. There's Apocalypse Ravi, and then there's Martial Artist Ken. Now, if Spirit Eye Celine goes into Martial Artist Ken, he's not going to be able to retaliate with really, really heavy damage, and even though he's on Sigurd's Scythe, he's not going to recover much because his damage threshold is being cut off. That's how he gets his massive heals whenever he goes in with his S2. It's basically if he's able to deal big numbers, and with Spirit Eye Celine, he literally can't do that. And also, we have Troublemaker Crozet with us, who is going to nerf that value even further and also make her even harder to kill. So, with Troublemaker Crozet here, I use his S3 on Destina, of all characters, every chance that I get so that I can turn cycle with her faster, and I can use her S2 on him any chance that I get to do any and all turn cycling and to keep him healthy. So, basically, through just, biding your time and then just doing counterattack shenanigans, you'll eventually get the win right there. Yay! And ladies and gentlemen, that is the GuildWar. Ooh woo. So, I really, really do hope you happen to enjoy that. I certainly had fun with it. It was one of the few times we happened to get a top 100 guild. It was fun. But, yeah, this is where I'm really starting to see a lot of the holes in the defenses whenever it comes to using Abyssal Yufine. The big thing that I'm starting to really think now is I think it's about time for me to actually build a Watcher Shuri. It's just, we're dealing with so much bullshit defense horseshit, and I actually have like a lot of means of boosting up the units. So I was like, yeah, fuck it. Why not? It's pretty much worth it at this point to go ahead and do that. Might as well, because like a lot of the times, a lot of the defenses that I see are like, hey, this is some def scaling unit, but then the def scaling unit is like, low on HP, but then you could probably just like, murder it with Watcher Shuri, OG def pinner that was at the start of the game. Meanwhile, like all the other def pinners that are really coming out lately have like all these bizarre fucking limitations on them. Midnight Gala Lilias is based on like HP shenanigans, which straight up is one of the hardest things to use about her and Hwayoung, because we do not know the HP values of units that we're going into. And also the HP values have to be fucking ridiculous, or you have to be straight up doing like next level stupid tech, like literally not having a helmet. But either way, it all kind of worked out. But hopefully the next chance I really get to really play with it, I'll have a Watcher Shuri to really showcase for this. It's not really going to be special, it's just going to be kind of slow and build a lot of damage. But it should work out just as dandy. Either way, I hope you guys rather enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and leave me a like. And if you want to see more of my content, I would greatly appreciate it if you would hit subscribe. Thanks so much for coming by. Later.